This is the VO Life Podcast. All about the ups and downs of being a voice actor in the real world. Casting sites, agents, marketing, using every resource to make sure we keep growing and reaching for more. We may not be superstars, but we're grinding our way up. From the occasional regional to the local 15 and everything in between, we are living the VO life. Join us weekly for recent happenings and interviews with the people who can help you on your walk through the VO life. Now, here's your host and fellow traveler, Troy Holden.
Hey, and welcome back. You found us again here on the VO Life. Troy Holden in this week, riding solo. And this week, I want to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart this week because of all the stuff I've been going through the last several weeks. And somebody said, hey, you should do a podcast about how this remodel has affected your business and this, that, and the other. And we're going to get into some of that. But we are titling this week's episode, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. You remember those books that came out a long time ago, and it talked about don't sweat the small stuff in life, and they were really good. And these books were centered around life is too short to let these minor things steal your time and get you upset. Live in the now, don't worry about uncertainty. But how do we apply all of that to voiceover and our business? And starting up and what you're doing. A lot of you may be starting your VO business. You're new to this. Some of you have been around a few years like I have. Some of you have been around a lot longer. But this all can apply to you, and maybe this will help. And let's get into that, and we'll get into the remodel stuff and how all of this actually comes into one podcast. One of the things that I really believe in when it comes to not sweating small stuff is to choose your battles. And I think too many people love to stay involved in these online group battles, and a lot of this can really hurt your business and your reputation. Be very careful with that. That is small stuff. It doesn't matter. Are your clients going to see that stuff? Probably not. But why do that? Why hurt your reputation among your colleagues and all? If all this stuff doesn't have significance, don't get involved in it. Walk away from it. If it doesn't affect you personally, your business, how you live, or they're not on your front porch threatening you. You don't have to always have an opinion. You don't have to be the first person to answer. Stay out of that stuff. And you're going to feel better about it because you're not wasting time on it and getting worked up and your blood pressure's going up. People are on there arguing about, well, you shouldn't use that DAW, or you shouldn't use that microphone, or you ought to do this or that, or even the political stuff. Let it all go. Keep all that to yourself. And things will go a whole lot better. Accidentally, your views will slip out when it comes to some things. If you believe in this or believe in that, it may accidentally slip out, or your personal page may reflect that, whatever. Just don't get in these face-to-face, head-to-head things with people on there. It's not worth it. And some will say, well, it's free speech. You can if you want to. And I get that. I get that 100%. But why get all worked up over it? It's just going to make you feel bad. Even if you get something off your chest later on, you're going to go, oh no, look at this reply. Oh no, look what I've done. Right? Anyway, it happens. And, it's just best to stay out of that stuff. I think it's great to offer help and your opinion on gear that you have. And I use this and it works great for me. It might not work for you, whatever. But don't be that person who's always answering in every group and every post, because all I can think of if I see that stuff is, how do you have time to do voiceover if you're always having to do that? And don't sweat those things. Go do something that'll help your business or your life in a better way. Get the heck away from that stuff. Just like all the things not in your business, try not to get involved in the minute things that in the long run don't matter and you likely will have no effect on it. And I'm talking about in your real life. You ever go to a hotel and the pillows are terrible? Don't get upset about the pillows. Throw them off the bed and sleep on your arm. Sometimes it's not worth getting bent out of shape. I saw a guy get just totally stoked in a little country restaurant over a fork that had a bent tine. It wasn't bent that much. Now, I've had one come back to me. It was pointing back at me. There's no way to eat with it. I was like, ma'am, could you get me another fork? That's okay. But when you throw a fit over something that is so insignificant, look what that does to you and your well-being and your blood pressure and everything. If we're that micro-focused on what doesn't matter, if we stay that way, how do we focus on what does matter? Because we're so focused on what doesn't. And I'll just tell you, letting go is a wonderful thing. Because for me, the small stuff lately I've noticed is I've been off, and this is forcibly because I haven't had any time because of this remodel. I've been off social media more. But you know what? I'm kind of glad. It's mainly been TikTok. I've cut back Facebook, but I try to stay active in the Facebook group and post some things about what's going on. But man, I noticed I haven't put anything on LinkedIn in forever, and I haven't put much on TikTok. But here's the deal. My business has not suffered because of that. I haven't lost work. Things haven't slowed down, but I do have way more time. I've been able to do a lot that I haven't been able to do. For me and my wife just to sit on the porch and talk and laugh and for us to go for a ride or go somewhere and go to eat quietly by ourselves. And I also noticed that by focusing more on my work when I'm working versus social media means I can do less and make the same money in less hours. And what I mean by that is less hours in the chair, whether I'm in the office or in the booth, less time making the same money because the time I'm in here, I make it count. I'm trying to get my auditions. I'm trying to do them well. I'm trying to get my marketing out, do it well. I'm executing when I'm in here because I don't have a ton of time some days. I may only have 2 hours one day or an hour or maybe a very early hour in the morning because we've got doctor's appointments and then they're going to be working on this end of the house in the bathroom and there's no way to record or do anything until he leaves at 4 o'clock. So it's really changed how I've looked at things in that I may have been wasting some time this past year. Now, the first couple of years, no, I had to hustle hard to get that business base going. And, that it was doing stuff and getting things out. But yeah, social media was a part of that. But what I'm learning now for me, this may not be for you. For me, I can cut that way back and nobody's going to care and it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the bottom line. And isn't that what we're worried about? It's not who sees us on Facebook or who sees us on TikTok, unless that's part of your business. And a lot of people, it is because they may have things tied to that they make money from. And I understand that. That's great. Let me ease a little more into the remodel renovation stuff we're doing. We live in a fairly it's an older ranch-style farmhouse, cedar siding on the outside. It's been painted, porch across the front, just typical country farmhouse. And I've been self-contracting a remodel of 2 bathrooms and a laundry room, and we have fully floored the house. We're painting everything. And I have one guy that's doing almost all of this, and not only is he multi-talented, can do carpentry, finish work, he's a plumber, electrician, drywall, he can do flooring. But I am I'm the one that makes all the Home Depot, Lowe's, hardware store trips, Menards. I go get everything. I take my truck and I go get bathtubs, the doors for the bathtubs, toilets, all the fixtures, all the plumbing stuff he needed. He'd write me a list. I just familiar enough with it, I could go do that. And I would also, like the main bath, my son and I tore it out down to the studs. And I would, because my son was only here that Saturday, I would load up all the rubbish, is what he calls it, or the trash and the scrap, and I would take it to the dump and go throw that away. And then on top of all that, my wife had back surgery about 6 weeks ago. I'm going to have back surgery. I'm going to have a couple of rods and screws and some pads or inserts put in between some vertebrae. Just all those years of manufacturing, horseback riding, playing sports, I guess it took its toll. But anyway, all that aside, with all this going on, me going to visits, getting assessed, going to this doctor, this pain clinic where they wanted to test this. And I'm like, no, if I got to have it, we'll just have it. But with all the visits, and then you have your dental things, dental cleaning came up last week, and regular doctor visit, and flu shots, and something all the time, right? You guys know how this is. And it seemed like I was on the go all the time. I could barely get a couple hours a day in here to get work done, and then I'd have to come back at night. If I had paid work that needed to be delivered that day or early the next day, I'd have to come in here usually in the evening, 4:30, 5 o'clock, or sometimes I'd wait and come back at 8 o'clock and knock that stuff out. And my clients are just awesome. They understand what I'm doing. I've even sent them pictures. Here's where we're tearing stuff out and this, that, and the other. I had some sessions, scheduled live sessions I had to do, and I'd have to tell my guy, hey, you're going to have to knock it off for an hour. Can you take your lunch from 11 to 12 instead of, taking your lunch at 12 or whenever? And it was great. We had no problem. So my routines have definitely been changed, but what I have found is, how did I make all this work and still run the business and still maintain a level of income that I maintained when I wasn't doing this? I just applied what I just talked about. I got all my small stuff out of the way, and I was able to take care of the things that mattered and pay a lot of attention to it. One of the things I changed was my daily routine. I had gotten a little lazy in the mornings, but with this guy coming every morning to show up at 7 or 7:30, I had to be up way ahead of that, have everything ready, lights on, doors unlocked, wherever he was working, ready to go. Because the more I prepped and helped him, the faster he was going. The more I could help him by me taking stuff, the stuff outside, the pieces he'd torn out or cut off or whatever. And if, I made sure I got the saw up here. He was using one of my saws. I'd make sure it was set up here on the porch where he didn't have to walk to my shop for every time he did a cut, and that's that Nissan mentality, less steps, less motion, etc. You guys have worked in places like that. You get it. But what I found was I got in my routine. I was up earlier. I would hit those pesky overnighters that came in because I'm on a lower tier of voice 1, 2, 3. I would look through those in the morning and I'm like, nope. Yeah, I could probably do that one. And nope. Okay, maybe these two. And then I would go to voices.com stuff because now they seem to have a lot of stuff that comes in after 5, 6 o'clock for some reason. So I would knock those out and try to do them well, pick only what I thought I could book, because why waste time on what you will not book? Go by your past. And my short list started going up. I'm still booking about the same amount. And then I still had more time during the rest of the day, and I wasn't stressed about it because I got that out of the way early. I would watch my phone. If something came through, I would look at it and go, it's really not a fit. I got to go get this done. If he were working in this end of the house, I'd have to say, can you give me 10 minutes? Can you just stop for 10 minutes? Yeah. And he would do whatever, because he's kind of fascinated with what I do. Who isn't, right? People that don't do this. So, like I said, I continued to book about the same. Wasn't really much change in the last 6 weeks or so. But I let go of those things like wasting time on TikTok and Facebook. Yeah, I still work on the Facebook group, but I've done very little on any other platform, and my income stayed the same. And I spent less than half the time in my office chair or booth than previously. Would that sustain itself? Probably not, because I need to market more, and that is something I'm upping my game with anyway. So for a redirect, what I'm saying is you can't stop everything, but you can cut hours out of your week that will improve your mental health and your relationships, because you're not wasting time on things that have no value. The small stuff for you may be different. You'll have to figure that out. But for me, because I'm analytical, and data does not lie. Believe me, data don't lie. I've learned that in all those years of manufacturing. Data does not lie. If you have a way to accumulate data on what you're booking, where you're spending your time, and and then you apply that to how you're coming out with income, you can figure out where you're doing things, what helps and what doesn't help. All right, so that data doesn't lie. So more time for other things divided by the same income and then multiplying in the marketing that where I used to waste that time on social media means I can probably find a happy medium in between what I was doing before and what I've done in the last few weeks to equal out to a happier life and still a sustainable career. As most of you know, and I say this a lot, sure, I want to make as much as I can, but I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. I want to do more. I want to book a big job here and there. There's certain, I'd love to get with, there's a handful of agencies I have on this wish list that I would love to have one of those to get those opportunities that, could have a big payday. And I would love that. But if I can continue to do what I do and make what I make, I'm pretty satisfied with it. I'm just at a point in my life I can be satisfied with it. And this is not the formula or the way I started up 4 years ago. I worked really hard. I trained a lot more. I marketed way harder. But now that the systems are in place and my contacts that I have are solid and it's more, I'm adding new people all the time into my CRM, but I have a pretty good, solid, stable base in there that I'm reaching out to often, and every now and then I'll get a bite. And that's what that's for. You are setting that up for future business, and you try to hold this business base you have now and add to it. And that's what I'm happy with. I'm holding that base fairly well. I have a couple of clients that are a little more seasonal and they'll slow down, but they always come back. And, so that's what I want to do is build on that, get more of that direct business. And then what I can do later is reevaluate, related to online casting, agents, etc., as I build my business next year around what matters most, around what pays the best, and around what allows me to have life. Because I'm not in my 30s or 40s. I'm very soon to be 61 years old. I'm trying to set things up to where there's a little more free time, just a little more, a little less stress, where things run a little smoother and I don't worry about things all the time. So don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat, so many of these things that people worry about and ask so many questions about. Get yourself a good setup that works for you to record in and with. Get equipment you like and trust. Don't see the new shiny thing out there and think you have to go get it because somebody else has it. Is your sound okay? You've been approved. Somebody has listened to it and told you, yes, your sound is good. Then put that behind you and move on. You like your setup, you're saying, well, it's just a blanket booth and it's this, and da-da-da. I'd sure like to have one of those big whisper rooms, or I'd like to have one of those, one of those really nice vocal booths. Well, I guess everybody would, but don't stress over it. Don't sweat it, because if what you have is working, use it. I encourage you, coach with people you believe in and who believe in you. Associate yourself with people who are like-minded and avoid all of the scuttle nut stuff on social media. And your life will be better and your stress will go down. And during all of that, you will even feel better. And you might even be building a good, solid business while you're doing all that. Right? Who can build a good, solid business when you're always arguing with other people or stressed out or worried about this, that, and the other? You can't. Let go. Don't sweat the small stuff. And enjoy this. Don't let it become something that's awful and you dread it. Because then, it's time to do something else, right? All right, so let me give you this disclaimer here on the end as we close out for this week. Like all podcasts I've done, this one's about me and my experience. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing that this was an aha moment that I've had in the last few weeks in my ever-evolving VO life that I live. What works for me may not work for you. That comes down to a post I saw this morning talking about all these people posting these programs of, making six figures and blah, 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 blah. I see it all the time, back and forth, back and forth. I go to this. Good performance coaches don't have to advertise much at all because we all recommend them, correct? If we've worked with them and they're good, we're telling everybody how good they are. And everybody else is going to go to them and they're going to tell everybody how good they are. So most of those people do not have to advertise, hardly at all, if any. We all know who they are and they're good. And we refer each other to them. All of these others that you see, it could be some that you know who they are, but a lot of them, I don't know who they are. And they're advertising how they'll get you in the business and they'll get you trained and they'll do this and do that. And maybe they can. I do not know. I've not taken any of those programs because in my belief, there's enough free stuff out there on YouTube and in these groups that you can find your own way and learn at your own pace on your own time. And there's enough people that'll help you for nothing. And believe me, no two of us have gotten there the same way, hardly at all. I mean, you can find some that are similar. We're similar. We may have started right after COVID, or a few started right before COVID, and then they got caught up and got real busy because of COVID. Some of us started right after COVID, and we started a different way. Believe me, a lot of these folks have been in the business a while and they may be doing okay in the business, but they're doing this because it's easy extra money. They put out video programs, they make the videos, and you're just buying the videos. They only had to do it one time. They're not teaching you much one-on-one maybe. Maybe some of them are, maybe some aren't. This is not a pro and con against any of that stuff. I'm just telling you, be careful. There's a lot of stuff out there. Just be careful. There's too much free information. There's too much you can learn on your own. And like I said, even with that, don't sweat the small stuff. And once you get up and going and you've got your setup and you've got your sound checked out and you're ready to start coaching and you're, then all you got to do is just listen to who's really good. Who are the best coaches? Who can teach me performance better than anybody else? Who can teach me a method where I can sit down, go through copy and understand it and know what I need to do with it and how I need to work myself into it and make it believable, make it real, make it genuine and authentic. How do I do that? And that's what it's all about. The rest of it, all that other stuff, it's the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. And I'll see you next time here on The VO Life.
This has been The VO Life with Troy Holden on Spotify, Apple, Google, and more.